Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a Seiko, the latest incarnation of the monster range. But before I get started, I say it every time, if you like the content to my channel, please feel free to like and subscribe. And if you leave any comments below, I will endeavour to get back to you. I always try to. So, back to the watch. This, as I say, is the latest incarnation of the monster range. This is actually the limited edition version, the Save the Ocean. These models are indicated by the wave pattern on the dial in the nice blue ocean colours. Plus on the back, I haven't took the sticker off the back of this one yet, they have the script on the back saying how it is a limited edition run. So, what do I think of this one in comparison to the earlier monster range? Well, it's as if the monster has grown up and it's been defanged. The first monster, well, the first few editions of a monster, to be fair, I don't have a monster to show you, but I do have a case. It's a project watch I've never actually got around to, but you can see how the lines are a lot more harsh. Obviously, very, and with the dial, there was a lot more kind of teeth going on. It was definitely a rougher kind of watch, where this one, it's as if it's gone to finishing school. Suddenly we have these nice, the brushing is a lot nicer, the polishing areas are a lot nicer, the way the case is finished, it really is that little bit smoother, though it still retains its core sizes. So this is just over 42mm, about 42mm.5, and just over 13mm thick, and lug width is around about, I think it's about 49mm. So it's kept those, but one thing it has picked up on, the bracelet, it's still a 20mm, which seems a little bit small, but it does make up for this by the way it tapers into the watch case. The clasp, I've noticed, is wider. So if I put an old, this is a generation 2 bracelet, and you can see the clasp is wider on the newer model. So there's less tapering going on here, which actually I think suits a watch a lot more. It really has been dressed up. Suddenly we have this, we have a brushwork on the side, but with the lovely polishing within the scallops there. Gone are the serrated kind of lines through the bezel, and instead we're left with this lovely finish here. It's almost, the bezel is, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the baby monster. So I don't know if people are going to like that or not. But talking about the bezel, it's still a 120 click. It's, I don't know, it doesn't feel that positive. If I wind it now, it does sound nice, but it feels like it's only just catching on every indices. It doesn't feel like a real positive click click. It feels like it's just catching. Now, as for lining up, we know that Seiko have had issues with the chapter rings not lining up, and unfortunately this has got that. The chapter ring absolutely doesn't line up with the 12 o'clock. So unfortunately that is somewhat annoying. So I'm not impressed with that at all. Let me put that back round to help. Sorry, it'll probably be better now, but you can see. So that is a real shame, and it's sadly a little bit disappointing. The dial itself is beautiful. It's got a lovely wave pattern. The blue looks fantastic. Really does complement if you've got a pair of jeans on. It looks great with some blue jeans or a blue shirt maybe. So that I do like. Obviously, the elephant in the room for some people here is the Cyclops. Now, even in the Rolex fan club, there is a big, sort of like big thing about the Cyclops. Do people like it or not? And what Seiko have done here, being that it's a day date model, they've enlarged this Cyclops to cover both. So it's almost like a bar going across. I personally, I quite like it. I'm in the like club for that, but not everyone is. And that, yeah, please feel free to leave comments below if you like new Cyclops or not. So it's still got fantastic lume, though this one's got a lovely dark, a lovely blue colour, which I'll drop in now so you can see. It still retains its 200-metre water resistancy, and it still has its screw-down crown, which is always good to have. The actual movement is the 4R36, which is really Seiko's kind of go-to movement for all watches under the £500 mark in the UK. It's, yeah, what can you say about it? It's a 41-hour power reserve, 24 jewel, hand winding, hackable. So by that I mean if you pull the crown out, the second hand will stop. And I don't really have any problems with it. Possibly not the best looking movement, but the one thing I would say is when you unscrew the crown, it's not the most pleasant of affairs. But the wind in the watch is perfectly okay. I've got no problem with that. It's not a bad movement. I tend to find though that you do have to regulate the movement to get the best out of it. Sometimes out the box they're not the most accurate. So it is a proper ISO diver, so it's a 200-metre full-on diver, and this can take that kind of abuse all day long. Most monsters seem to be really quite bomb-proof. You do have a dive link extension here. If you notice, we've got the fold-over safety clasp, the 2 pins on the side. Unfortunately, we do have a little bit of a cheap clasp there with a pressed steel. Would have been nicer if they could have up the game a little bit, but there again, everything costs money. Dive link extension there. On the front here, we still have the Hard Lux, which is Seiko's proprietary mineral glass, hardened mineral glass crystal. And again, a lot of people who have these like to modify them. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, for most of the people who own this, they'll be dropping in a domed sapphire crystal straight away. But I don't really see a problem with Hard Lux most of the time, as long as it's actually, you know, below the chapter ring, below the actual bezel. I find it's normally quite nice. It gives off a nice kind of liquidy feel to it. The only thing I would say is when I look at this, the bezel, the Cyclops is actually above the bezel. So if you were to place it flat on its front, you will be knocking that Cyclops, which is a bit of a shame because it will mark. Now down to other things, it feels smoother. It doesn't feel quite as sharp as the original monsters. Sometimes when you turn the bezel on the original monsters, you kind of, it's a bit of a, it's a less pleasant affair. But in some ways, I would actually say I still prefer the bezel action on the first monster to this. It just feels that, don't get me wrong, the bezel lines up properly, and each click is okay, but it just doesn't feel like great. It feels like you've got to press, it feels like it needs the bezel pressing down a little bit. It's not quite as good as it could be. But overall, I think it's a cracking watch. You've got drilled out lugs there, which makes strap changing quite easily. And really, it's quite a nice watch. Let me put it on my wrist so you can see. I'll just a quick wrist check. I'm wearing a full metal G-Shock. Now on the wrist, as you can see, so remember my wrist is a fraction over 7 inches, about 18 centimeters or 7.1-ish inches, and it sits lovely. I prefer this wider clasp to the original because it just feels, it doesn't feel too top heavy. A lot of watches can feel really top heavy when they've got a very small clasp, and they always feel like they want to move around on your wrist. This one doesn't, to be fair. It feels nice and comfortable. You obviously, in the clasp, I should have mentioned, you've got four positions for micro adjust. But really, it feels like a monster you can actually wear with a shirt. It just feels a bit more grown up, and I think a lot of people won't like that. I think a lot of people still like the mad, bizarre, sharper look of the original. But I actually quite like it, but it is like Seiko's grown up. So tell me what you think about it in the link in the comments below. Are you for this one or the old one? Let us know. All the best. See you at the next video. Bye.